I often wonder what makes one person beautiful and one person ugly, one person attractive and one person completely off-putting. Part of it has to do with age, how the cells replicate. Over time, replication process degrades, and skin starts to become more wrinkly, more worn out. There starts to be random growths in places. The replication process becomes altered over time as it degrades. And there is something tied to our animal nature, um, and beauty. So the reason we're attracted to people that are in this certain age range, not too young and not too old, and kind of at their prime, even if they're not specifically structurally attractive as far as like facial structure and things like that, there's something in our animal nature that says, that is okay to mate with, that is okay to reproduce with, that other person is at the prime of their life, not too young, not too old. And of course the body around that time puts off various pheromones and chemicals that it doesn't in various ranges. But at some point, human beings, and this is an easy thing to see how it happened, started placing value judgments around that attraction. And most people don't really know that they're doing it. Most people don't think like, ooh, I'm not attracted to that person. That person's old, so I'm not attracted to him, so I'm not valuing them. Or same thing with younger people, I suppose. But there's this subconscious thing that happens in our brains where it's like if we don't catch it, then we think, we just don't value somebody as much if they're very old and very gross, or like very annoying and very small, young, something like that. And not everybody does this, but there's always at least a little bit of that. We always tend to value those people, that the halo effect. Somebody that's more beautiful has more value. That is tied to our animal nature and sexual attraction and the right that person is right to reproduce with. But when we become more spiritual and more aware of our subconscious and our various drives and the role and function of various phases of life, and how value isn't an inherent thing that is assigned to beauty, that is an inherent of beauty, of physical beauty. It really comes down to being good people in general will have this effect, but the more spiritually aware that you become, the more you start to see every kind of range of age, or not age, but like every range of life is beautiful. Not necessarily physically attractive, but beautiful. Once those value judgments become less physical for a spiritual person or for a moral person, but especially for a spiritual person, once the physicality is not what you look at, but it's deeper inside someone, or the inherent value of everyone, once you hit that point, you start to see the wonder and majesty and the beauty of all that exists, without the need to just find something valuable because it's physically attractive. And then there's a whole nother level. Once you start to, like I was talking about, once you awaken more and more, and you become a more and more spiritual person, once you truly start to wake up to how things actually are behind everything, you start to see that not only are there natural phases of life, and you shouldn't even subconsciously, or be aware if you're subconsciously do it, devaluing somebody because they're not attractive or something like that, or even if they're at the prime of their life but they're not physically attractive. Once you get past the physicality of things, you start to see the role and the beauty that death holds. Death is beautiful. Not only because it allows for life, but there's a decay process to the energies within the body and how the soul exits. That death kind of knows, the process of death is the thing to study to know life the most, to know how it exists, where those gates are, and how beautiful it is that those energies can continue to exist but transfer into other states of existence outside of the body and beyond the body in other dimensions. The body is a gateway, and the body being a beautiful gateway for the process of death, You start to see the body in a more subtle way. Death is beautiful because as soon as we begin to die, there's other things that, you know, try to like feed on us, and things like a whole bunch of little tiny life forms. Even when you have some kind of virus, it's like all of the, if you're aware of your energy and you focus on your blood. I know that sounds weird to somebody who doesn't know how to like move their consciousness or focus on various parts of their body, but if you focus on your blood, you can, and you're kind of used to dealing with energy, you can feel all of these tiny foreign or alien little beings like all over your body, almost like you're vibrating with all of this foreign life that's trying to colonize you as a world. And while you don't really want that, it's interesting to monitor it with your consciousness, to feel it out, and to feel the foreignness of these invaders within the body. It should kind of feel like when ants are crawling on your skin, but if you can actually focus on your blood and localize your blood, then you can actually feel it in your blood itself. It's not only that, but you know, when some bigger body, whether it be a plant or an animal or us, you know, usually we don't decay like we used to because we're not buried in the same way. We're either cremated or bodies are processed, embalmed. But when something dies, all of these little life forms lay eggs, and other of those same life forms are birthed out of it, like maggots. You know, flies laying eggs and maggots being born and then turning into flies. Every little piece of death is useful to life, and its usefulness also goes towards the esoteric. But if we identify that usefulness, anything that seems gross, if we identify the usefulness of various stages of life and various stages of existence and decay, we see that the birthing process never stops. The rebirth process never stops. Death is an aid to rebirth. Death is an aid to transcendence. Death is an aid to transformation. And it is almost like a fire in a way. You know, that's why fire is often identified as something, an element of transformation, because life is like the constant fuel, and death is that gateway. Death is a gateway that life allows to open up. So death is beautiful. We just have to contextualize why we view various stages of development, or even rot, or you know, like a crooked tree that's no longer alive and just been rigid there for a while. We have to consciously identify, why do we identify that as like crooked, bad, evil, scary, and analyze that and decide for ourselves, figure out for ourselves, you know, wait a minute, all of this is necessary. Death has its value. Death has its beauty. And that's wonderful. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been interesting. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, shoot them down in the comment section below on YouTube. Feel free to hit that like button down there. It really helps out the channel. Realize that death is beautiful. Go forward in your life with that knowledge. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day.